Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Carrow Road for the final time of the 25-26 campaign.
Regular season.
Regular season. Well, as it stands, at all, because Hull are drawing 1-1 as it stands at Charlton, which would, if it remains that way, would put Norwich City out of the top six race, because it would put Hull onto 71 points, irrespective of how this afternoon goes. But we do have the team news. I'll put it across the bottom of your screen now, and that is that Norwich City have made one change to their starting 11 for their final home game of the season, and that is that Slimani comes in for Forson. So line up with Kovacevic in goal, Stacey, Darling, Cordoba and Fisher, the back four, Matson and McLean, the midfield two, with Magoma and Gibbs. We're expecting Magoma on the right and Gibbs on the left, with Slimani behind Mo Toure. That subbench: Grimshaw, McConville, Wright, Forson, Ahmed returns to the bench, Field, Schlupp, Chris Goran and Errol Mundle-Smith. So that is how Norwich City line up this afternoon. I'll just run through that for you again. Kovacevic in goal, Stacey, Darling, Cordoba and Fisher, the back four, Matson and Kenny McLean, the midfield two, Magoma and Gibbs we're expecting on either flank, with Slimani behind Mo Toure. That subbench for you again: Grimshaw, McConville, Wright, Forson, Ahmed, Field, Schlupp, Chris Goran and Mundle-Smith. So that is how Norwich City line up for their final home game of the regular season, which as we said, as it stands, it will be their final home game at all this season because of that result at Hull. And we will keep you updated on that as the broadcast progresses, because I think the second half has just kicked off there, but there was a meaty bit of added on time at the end of that first half, of which Hull scored their equaliser in. So yeah, they were 1-0 up as Lee says, leading into the 7th minute of stoppage time. Paddy, plenty to discuss. Let's start with that lineup. One change. And I think, given what Philippe Clement said yesterday about the type of game that he's anticipating, probably understandable why he's tried to get Magoma and Slimani into that same midfield.
Yeah, he did. He talked about ball players. He reckoned they've got 4 or 5. He reckoned they're top 3 for him in terms of on the ball. So if you're trying to negate that, maybe the way is to go fire with fire and try and get as many of your own ball players in there, and in Slimani and in Magoma particularly. That should help them in that regard. McLean is obviously very polished on the ball as well. So just all adds to the sense, as the sun beats down here at Carrow Road, that, as Philippe said yesterday, game for a neutral today. 2 teams who will come, want to control the ball, want to control territory, have goal threats at both teams where it matters. And as a result, it's hard to see anything other than quite an entertaining affair. So hopefully we haven't jinxed that. But yeah, but clearly that would seem, off the back of what he said yesterday, where his head's at in terms of Slimani in, Forson out. Forson's a good technical operator, but if it is about getting control of those central tracks particularly, and the the movement and the intelligence of a player like Magoma and Slimani in those pockets as well. And Magoma, to be fair, did that very well here the other day. Derby game where he was very good at picking up the ball in those spaces, turning and driving at the Rams back line. So yeah, I can see exactly the logic there, and why, more broadly, would you make too many changes now when that team, bar Forson and Slimani, went and did the business from the start midweek, which was another very, very step forward for me in terms of, as Philippe said, a team who's growing, who can handle maybe teams who come and try and kick them a little bit out of their stride. They didn't rise to that bait. He called it provocation. They came through that. It was another signal of the growth in this group of players. So if there's no fitness issues, go again, lads.
Yeah, and I guess the other kind of one that we would have sort of mentioned was maybe Rory McConville coming back into the side. He was in there on Tuesday night and then had to withdraw in the warm up through sickness, which was a shame. As I see Adam Eder on the pitch speaking to one of Norwich City's performance team. We'll have a look in a moment to see if he starts for Swansea. But yeah, I think Harry Darling, the way he played on Tuesday night, and actually the way he's played over the last few games for me, going back to Millwall, I thought he was good at Bristol City. I thought he was good again on Tuesday night. That's probably out of merit, really, that he keeps his place in there now.
Who we talked about?
Harry Darling.
Harry Darling, yeah. Well, and he'll be desperate against his old club.
Yeah.
And if you go back to that game earlier in the season, he was getting quite a lot of stick for the temerity he showed in turning his back on Swansea. There was a deal on the table for him. He was a free agent, but he clearly felt Norwich was a better vehicle for him. And the Swansea home fans delighted in reminding him of that fact when Vibotnik came to the party. So yeah, he'll have a particularly vested interest in today's outcome. But purely in terms of selection, yeah, I don't think you could argue with that now. I've said for a few games for me, it's McConville and Cordoba, but player performances can change people's minds. That's what McConville did, when he first came in and took his opportunity and never looked back. And thought it was interesting, the sort of the Clement takedown of the players who were released yesterday. And very clearly, when he got to Shane Duffy, it said, okay, there's a youth element, but it's also the progression of a player like Rory McConville moving forward. That he has emerged as a real viable option. And in that context, Harry Darling knows he gets an opportunity, as he has done recently. He has to take it. And, alongside him, Cordoba's getting better and better. He just looks like a leader now. He looks what he felt he would be when he came in, which is a very dominant, physical, athletic, powerful, commanding defender. And it's great to see. And alongside him, I guess if you've got a player like that, whether it's McConville, whether it's Darling, it's an easier partnership to foster. And I can see why he's erring on the side of caution with McConville as well. He's had these knee issues. He's obviously was named in the midweek lineup and then had to come out through sickness. But if it's players perform well, keep the shirt, then you can't argue with Harry Darling retaining his place today.
No, agreed. And like you say, I think that added element against his former team will add something for him, I'm sure. As you can see, and I can see several of you have already participated. We've got our poll in the bottom left corner there, just over you and Robert's head. So there you go. You can vote whichever you think the outcome will be today, just by selecting a number 1, 2, or 3, whatever place you're watching this, and that will register as your vote for how you see this outcome going. And later on in the afternoon, or in the broadcast, we'll get Paddy and Mai's verdict as well. I think you got it right on Tuesday night, which we must be in single figures this season for the amount of predictions we've got right. But
what are you on about?
Well, our predictions are never that reliable, are they? I think outcome we're probably quite good at, but maybe not specifically score.
Well, give it. I mean, we're not crystal ball gamers. I mean, I settle if I get win. If I say win and it's a win, don't care how many goals involved.
I'll tell you what, next season on here, we're going to have to do some sort of leaderboard so we can keep track of it. Maybe someone can take that on for us next season. That would be great. And we'll try and get them noted and maybe get a little bit of a league table going. That would be good over the course of next season. James has commented there about the playoffs. I'm feeling playoffs next season. The team's potentially getting relegated next season. It is going to be tougher. It is. But, of course, it's worth adding that there are going to be more playoff places to grab as well next season, because it will be the 2 additional places. So there'll be 6 teams in the playoffs next year in kind of that eliminator style, which is going to make it interesting. Let's go to the Swansea team. They've got Vigoro in goal, Cabango, Stomenik, Yakule, Vipotnik starts, Eom starts, Tyam, Burgess, Franco, Ward, and Ronald is their starting 11. Adam Eder on the bench for them this afternoon. Fisher, Key, Fulton, Widdell, Santos, Cooper, and Adam Eder in for them. Just to keep you updated on the score, still 1-1 at the Valley. And I think it's interesting, Paddy, what Philippe Clement said about Swansea, because I think the assumption when you get to this stage of the season, and look, we'll only really know at the end of this game at the Valley whether there's anything riding on it from a Norwich perspective. But certainly you look at a team like that and you think, can't go up, can't go down. No, nothing hugely to play for. But sometimes, and we've seen this from a Norwich perspective as well, sometimes it can free teams up, can't it? And Norwich are going to have to be wary of that today.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, for me, it's less that. It's look at the goal threats they've got in it. Headlined by Vipotnik. Norwich had a taste of that earlier in the season. He's continued in that vein. Clement was effusive, I thought, in his praise of him in terms of the type of striker, the type of goals he scores. There is a red-hot commodity, and I'll be very interested. Going to come in there, Connor. I was very interested in where he ends up, because with the greatest respect to Swansea, I don't see him starting for Swansea at the start of next season. So, how high is his potential value going into this window? But I think he's on 22 goals now, so I can't see him being overhauled now in terms of Golden Boot. So for me, it's that. It's whatever there is or isn't on the line for Swansea, as there is or not on potentially by the time they kick off here for Norwich. They do have goal threats in their team, and we're not going to talk really much about Adam Eder. He was a bit of a Marmite character, dare one say, in terms of people who thought he was a player that could have emerged into that leading man for Norwich, striker-wise. Others felt he was never really going to grasp that opportunity, but nevertheless, I think what he is, if he gets the right service, he can finish. So there's no doubt they have, to underline what Clement said, they have some serious firepower for this level at the top end of the pitch, and that's why I think it's a very good test again for Cordoba and the rest of this back line. Can they nullify what Swansea will try and do, and then allow Norwich's ball players to try and unlock that potential at the other end of the pitch with a Toure who everything we're seeing so far, I don't. Kevin Phillips, we had a piece with him in the week where he said that guy is good enough to go on and be a Golden Boot winner himself next season. 20 plus goals. I think we'd all agree with that. I mean, he could end up in double figures, which would be ridiculous given he only came in January and he missed 4 or 5 games through injury. So that in itself, games within games, how the Botnick and Torre match up today, I think that's going to be an intriguing one as well. And let's hope from a Norwich perspective, it's more evidence of what steel he looks in terms of what Norwich paid for him.
Indeed, obviously today being the last home game of the season, we'll get into some of the player of the season stuff, but there's obviously the news we had yesterday about the released players. It's only Jeffrey Schlupp of those included in that who are in the matchday squad. Obviously Sam Field returning to his parent club QPR as well. He's on the bench, and really contrasting, wasn't it, in terms of obviously he had those players going, but equally very effusive Philippe Clement yesterday on Sam Field, and that I guess potential to bring him back, which essentially, if the price is right, you get the sense Norwich would be very keen to do that.
Yeah, but that's an interesting one for me, because I would have looked at that central midfield, bearing in mind Mirko Topic will come back in now, and you would have thought Maatsen, McLean, Topic, Jacob Wright. He references Liam Gibbs, as he said in the week. His position is a 6, that's where he wants to play. But evidently, by those quotes, they still feel they might need to do a little bit of business in that area of the squad. It wasn't necessarily one I would have looked at and thought, and it still probably isn't a priority, but those quotes to me suggest that is an area they will be looking to make an addition. So if that is the case, then yes, very much so. Sam Field will be at the top of any potential list, because he's come in, he's worked with Clement, he's seen him at close quarters, he's been very impressed with him. Okay, his opportunities now post Maatsen's return have been limited, but nevertheless, as a squad staple, and over the course of the championship season, I'm sure he'll get plenty of game time. The imponderables, as Philippe mapped out yesterday, are where QPR see him, and then if they don't see him, what type of value he would command in the market and what interest there would be. So there's a few hurdles there, but for me, Philippe Clement's not really coming out with that, and he said he'd spoken to Field, didn't they? So they're not coming out with that. They don't think there's enough encouragement to potentially bring that deal over the line in the summer. So that would suggest to me that is definitely one to watch out for. Yeah.
And I mean, of the players departing, it feels like, and look, like someone like Jeffrey Schlupp who's involved today. It's been not the season that he would have wanted, largely because of injury, but I think at the time it was a deal on a 1 year that made a lot of sense. And I think it was always maybe a sense it would end like this, maybe irrespective of how it transpired, because they clearly have those 2 left backs that they feel are very talented, providing they can keep them fit, and that's maybe another debate. But it feels like probably Tony Springett is the one who maybe is being greeted with the most kind of sadness, maybe the wrong word, but definitely the most regret from probably Clement as well, but also this fan base because of what he's achieved since Christmas. That story coming back from, as he told me away, I think it was Preston, those stages of that sort of 18-month absence where he couldn't walk, and he's had to build up from there to make a real impact at what was a difficult stage of the season for Norwich, where they needed players and needed contributions. He did that in kind of a range of positions, starting at left back and then out wide. Clement described him as having a Norwich heart, but I'm sure we're probably of the same agreement, and I agree with what Clement said yesterday. He needs to get out now at this stage of his career and move to somewhere where he's going to play regularly.
Well, also in what he said, implicit again, and this is an area of squad I think we can all see, right-hand side of that attacking three, they're going to go try and strengthen that area. And he basically said, for all those elements, the human perseverance, overcoming adversity, that he was going to be further down the pecking order, because they're going to look to be active on the right-hand side. I think we can all see that. It's been Gibbs, it's been Springett earlier in the season, it's been Kenny McLean for 2 or 3 games recently. That is a major area that needs addressing. And you pull all that together, then no, it's no surprise. It's just, I think it's more the human element with him, that he clearly came in, as Clement also said yesterday, around the place. He's loved. He's such an infectious character. He's got all this energy, and he would be happy personally, I'm sure, sitting on the bench, maybe not even making benches next season. So it feels like a little bit like, back in the day they talk about, Maddison or Buendia and maybe their trajectory outstripping where the club were at. Probably in reverse with him. I think Norwich are now moving forward at a pace. Aspirations are clearly, if it's this season, more likely next season, to get up into the Premier League. I don't think Tony Springett is anywhere near ready for that journey, and that's just being pragmatic and realistic. And it's good that it would appear from what Clement said, he was aware of that, he understood that, he could see the logic. There was no pushback. Why are you doing this to me? So good luck. And as Clement kept the window open, his Norwich story might not be open if he goes and plays games and kicks on, because there is a player there, but I think I've not spoken to anybody or seen any commentary really on social media beyond what a great lad he is, saying that he is now ready to be the right-hand side option, starting for Norwich next season when they're bidding for promotion. I don't think anybody really is saying that. So, and for me, it would be a Gibbs who would be your versatile options and players of that ilk who I think are further ahead than a Tony Springett right here, right now. So, no, it's wish him all the best. And I've not seen any pushback really on any of those five. Anybody saying why have they done that? I think it's pretty much been universal. So, fair play.
Yeah, agreed. And as you put to Philippe yesterday as well, I'm sure there's a financial dimension to a lot of those decisions as well, which is the nature of it as well. I mean, on field, we had this question. We would love to see Phil back on a permanent next season. We'd also love to see Amas get a chance here again, maybe with Clement's positive outlook on him, a cheeky permanent as well. It's the best kind of permanent, a cheeky one. Harry Amat, it was frustrating, wasn't it? Because they beat a lot of clubs to him in January, and there was a lot of excitement about what he could bring. Yeah. Never really had an injury. He played a couple of minutes, and that he did play was as a right winger. And then obviously gets injured between those games, and not to be seen again. What do you make of Norwich's prospects this summer?
Obviously, United hold the cards there. I mean, you pointed out he's contractually 12 months out, so you would think if they value him and see him as part of something moving forward, they'd have to do something with his contract. If that isn't forthcoming, does that indicate there's a window there for a club to maybe try and bring him in? So there's a lot of hypotheticals around it. I think in the here and now, the sense you get is that go back to when they had to wait for Callum Doyle because he went off with Man City in pre-season, and that was pretty much the final week before the season kicked off, and they waited and they were prepared to wait. I don't get the sense Clement is of that ilk. So if that is where Harry Amas is seen in terms of United and playing in their pre-season, then Norwich won't be waiting. There's no chance. So it feels at the moment that's probably not going to happen. And but what we do know is they are underlined by letting Schlupp go. They will be in the market for a left-sided player. I think there's a feeling inside the club that it can't be again a season where you're relying on Callum Fisher, right-footed left back. That just isn't sustainable. So with Crescenti and Mahoma, they can't get fitness-wise to a robust level. And even if they can, I still think they'll look to do something in that area. But right here, right now, given it's United who call the shots, I don't see that.
No, I agree with that as well. I think for all the reasons that Paddy mapped out there, I think Norwich are going to try and get stuff done early, as always, as all clubs intend to do, to be fair, and we'll see if those circumstances change. We've got a comment here from Big Face on YouTube. Predictions for Potts and young Potts. We've got a man over our shoulder that won it twice, so we're probably less qualified, but far less qualified. Let's go Young Player of the Year. I mean, we spoke about this a little bit on the podcast, but we'll do it again because it's going to be announced at the end of the warm-up. So if you're coming down this afternoon, maybe worth getting down here a little bit early to see those presentations. It's nice that we've gone back to the tradition of it being kind of publicly available before kick-off. I think that's a much better way to do it and to have kind of everyone in the stadium learn about it first. Young Player of the Season, Paddy. I mean, there's a few contenders that we throw in there, and we discuss this in our podcast. So if you want more longer form stuff on that, then go and check that out from last week towards the end. Who do you think walks away with that trophy?
Young player. Yeah, I mean, when we had that discussion on the podcast, I was clear. It was not clear, but I felt Fisher would retain it. You put the case for Schwartau and McConville, and I wouldn't.
Breaking news! Sorry, Charlton have regained the lead at the Valley, so they are now leading with 2-1. It was February with that goal on the 68th minute, so 20 minutes to play at the Valley. Norwich City's very, very faint playoff dream, Paddy, is still on.
Don't get excited. For the simple reason that Wrexham have got to go to my boys tomorrow, who I think have pretty much been enjoying themselves. I think Frank gave them 2 or 3 days off, and they only need a point, as Hull do, of course. So, and even if that didn't go for them, they've got a home game, as Hull do, but we know that's against Norwich. So I'm still in the 0.7 camp. But what it is
you're a pessimist, you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But it allows us to continue to just dream, the big dream. And I tell you, wouldn't it be great if my boys do the business tomorrow against Wrexham, Charlton hold on, and then you've just got one of those really, really, oohs, radios going off in grounds all around the country, simultaneous final day. If Norwich were in that, even if they still had a very slim chance, that would be a fantastic occasion. It's a sellout at the way end, isn't it, at Hull, I believe. So that's what you hope for in the here and now, is that maybe this weekend it's not done and dusted and it rolls on. But I still think it's a tall order. But as we said yesterday with Philippe, to be even having this conversation, speaking to him about playoffs, it's off the dial really. It's way beyond anybody's expectation. He called it a footballing miracle from 9 points, 15 games in. You know, the miracle at this stage is still on, but you're not going to tell me that probably Charlton have conceded, so that last 2 minutes will be completely worth it. But as I say, my fear would be Wrexham will get a point at Cardiff tomorrow, maybe even a win, and it's done. But wouldn't it be brilliant if we all went and pulled? Just thinking, wow, that could be the afternoon to end all afternoons. If there was circumstances that came together to leave Norwich in the top 6, I just can't see it. I just cannot see it. There's too many hurdles for me. As Clement said yesterday, rightly, if it's in Norwich's hands and they sort of know that they need 4 points from these last 2, then you set about the task in a way that you try to get those 4 points. But the reality is, whatever Norwich do, they can win these next 2 and it's still not enough. So much else has to happen, doesn't it?
Yeah, and this is not an easy game either. I've seen that out yesterday as well in terms of Swansea and the way they're playing and some of the players they have in that squad. So, yes, as it stands 2-1, we'll keep you posted if that changes we're on 72 according to the app that I've got in front of me. So, 18 minutes or so plus added time there. So we'll keep you posted on that. Still 0-0 in that game. Middlesbrough 4-1 up over Watford. So they are doing their part. Back to the young player of the season, Paddy, because I'm not sure you quite said it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll stick with Fisher, but if it was to be a Schwartau or McConville, wouldn't be surprised, because all 3 of them, I think, are very strong candidates.
Yeah, I agree. One of those 3. I think McConville would just edge it for me in terms of the impact that he's had and the consistency that he's had at such a young age. But yeah, like you, I think it's kind of a hair's width between them really in terms of those 3. Player of the season, very quickly, what would your 3 be? I think we both agreed on the winner.
Oh yeah, well the Mayor clearly, as again we discussed it, go back and watch that. I've not really thought about the 2nd and 3rd. I mean, I'd probably put Fisher and Schwartau in there.
Maatsen,
yeah.
Corder has probably been a bit too late, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but even Maatsen, I mean, this Maatsen isn't the Maatsen we saw when he first arrived. So for me, it's head and shoulders McLean, and then you're almost having to make a few compromises from players who maybe have had good periods, but equally have not quite been at the money. Maatsen, Schwartau, McConville, Cordoba. Yeah, I don't think you'd look outside of them. You?
Yeah, I think I'd go McLean, Maatsen.
Oh yeah, I forgot McCarman. Yeah.
Fisher, I think would be my 3 for player of the season.
McCarman.
I'm just not sure McCarman did it for long enough. No. I think would be my case in terms of top 3. But yeah, I can absolutely understand the argument. And yeah, what an exciting prospect that is to have him back. Well, potentially for the playoffs now. Who knows? The way this afternoon is transpiring. Norwich, of course, still have to do their job. Finally, then, Paddy, and obviously those presentations will happen pre-game. I think that Neil Adams is also going to come out and get some recognition as well as he signs off after 30 years of service at the club as a player, as a manager, as a technical director, as an academy coach, a loans manager. Done it all, hasn't he, at the club, really? So it'd be nice for him to get that moment. And obviously Chris Burton, who's been head of medical services for 9 years, departing the club at the end of the season as well. So a day of farewells, as these always are, and Norwich will have their usual lap of appreciation at the end of the game with the families and whatnot. That'll be a nice moment. We'll see all of that stuff unfold. But Paddy, in terms of the actual game of football, how do you see it going this afternoon?
Well, let me see. Just have a look at the strength in the Swansea lineup. Yeah, I could see a high scoring draw here. To be honest, I just think
Killjoy.
Well, yeah, as you pointed out, we very rarely get these right. So don't get too concerned. But equally, maybe I'm going to err on the side of real positivity and Norwich to shade it 3-2.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 Norwich. I think they'll get the job done today, and hopefully that result at the Valley can stand and can make sure that this game is perhaps even a little bit more exciting than what it had the potential to be, which would have been a real end of season dead.
Do you want to know the record? Swansea's last 10 trips in.
Norwich are unbeaten, aren't they? I think
one defeat.
Is it?
You remember that game? Russell Martin's crew came here and did the 3-0.
They were excellent.
They did a right job on them. Yeah. But barring that, Norwich have had a good record in this fixture. So let's hope that continues.
Well, a lot of confidence on our poll, as you can see. 100% owing that is Norwich win. So there you go. You're a confident bunch out there today, which we like. Pinkin.com, the place to go throughout the afternoon. We'll have all of the updates here as well in terms of that player of the season presentation and all of that stuff. Paddy will be speaking to Philippe Clement after the game as well. So, keep it locked to our channels. And if you are yet to do so, let me flash it up. We still have tickets available next Sunday at the Yard for our live podcast. You can come and join us. Go to the, if you just put into your browser NewsQuest store, or you can go to pinkin.com and you'll find the relevant link there at the top of the website, and you can get your tickets. Just £6 there.
3-1. No,
2-1. There we go. Sorry, Paddy was updating you on the score. And if you're subscribed, you can say £2.
That could be the playoff, setting up the playoffs. That Connor. Why would you want to come and talk about the playoffs and their chances to get to Wembley?
Could be. They are selling fast. Come and join us. And as I said, all the details on the screen. So pause that, and you can go to the NewsQuest store and get your tickets. We would love to see you there next weekend. From Carrow Road for the last time of the regular season, as we still have to say, thank you very much for following all of these this season. We'll, of course, be at Hull next week, irrespective of what happens this afternoon. And let's hope Norwich City can get the job done. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon.